The shotguns are just not worth using as heavy. A few years ago, this wouldn't have been a talking point, but as of late, I have gotten tons of comments telling me I am wrong about this. I am not sure how widespread this shotgun-heavy theory has become, but anecdotally, I have seen quite a few players rocking a 12 gauge in my lobbies. I think the reason some players believe that shotgun-heavy is good is because other creators on YouTube have said that it is. What I do know is that the most popular videos advocating for the shotgun have over 2 million views combined, and other than wanting in on some of that, I also wanted to explain why I think shotgun heavy sucks, mostly because I don't hear anybody else saying it on this platform. If you haven't seen any of those videos, let me get you up to speed. The gist of the argument is that the shotgun provides on-demand damage without sacrificing your mobility. So basically, you use the shotgun to bail you out if you are caught unrevved, or to push your advantage on an opponent corner peeking you. Gee, a heavy tip found on YouTube that touts more mobility on the slowest class in the game without adequately addressing the downsides. I'm having the weirdest sense of deja vu, and I don't know why. Well, anyways, let me get back on topic. Is there some truth to the pro-shotgun argument? I think so, however, I want to make the case that the shotgun is almost never worth using as heavy. The biggest and most obvious downside to running a shotgun is that you cannot bring the sandwich. Now I know that the shotgun advocates will mention this, but it's usually brushed off as either not that big of a deal or as a worthy sacrifice for all of the value you are going to get with the shotgun. First of all, let me address just how badly Heavy needs his lunch. Anybody who has actually played Heavy for longer than 5 seconds probably knows that you are going to take a lot of damage and that you aren't always going to have a medic to heal you. In a world where you never need to rely on a lunchbox item to regenerate your health, then the shotgun would be an obvious pick. However, we don't live in that world. Health packs get taken by teammates and enemies, your team isn't guaranteed to have a medic, and if there is one, they might not heal you, and other ways of regenerating health like dispensers, Mad Milk, and Conquerors are also all reliant on how competent your team is. I picked this clip because it contained multiple lunch breaks in it. I normally avoid using clips that are longer than like 30 seconds, mostly because I believe in showing things as they are being described, and it is hard to do that with minute-long clips with no cuts. However, the reason I kept this long-ass continual shot like I'm editing a Michael Haneke film is because I want to highlight the fact that I ate my lunch twice. The number of times I get sandwich value in a game isn't easily communicated with 20-second long clips of me mowing down half the other team, but I assure you that the value is there. Now, naysayers will argue that the shotgun will actually reduce the amount of damage that you take because you can remain mobile while firing. I can see how you can come to this conclusion in a vacuum, but again, in practice, this just is not the reality. Heavy is big and slow whether or not he is spun down. Is he slower when he's spun up? Yes, but he's still really damn slow when he's spun down. Do you have increased dodging capabilities when you aren't spun up? Yes, but regardless of whether you are shooting your enemies with a minigun or a shotgun, you are almost always going to end up taking damage before the fight is over. Now, is it true that in some fights, using the shotgun instead of the minigun might lead to taking less damage? Sure, I guarantee you this is the case occasionally, especially in fights that you aren't spun up for when they begin. However, the shotgun's time to kill is going to be longer than the minigun's in most cases, meaning that your opponent will have more time to shoot back at you. I'll come back to time to kill in a bit, but I am going to stay on the topic of health for this section. Just note that as fights last longer, you are bound to take more damage, so getting the kill as quickly as possible is ideal. Since you are not able to reliably dodge damage, you will usually end up eating a rocket or a meat shot even if you get the frag on your opponent, unless you manage to catch someone off guard. Personally, I find my health to be the limiting factor when it comes to multi-kills. Oftentimes, I will be in a really strong position, but occasionally an enemy I mow down returns fire, and eventually I am forced to either back up to heal, or push my luck and hope the next player I encounter misses me. This is why I think that the sandwich is a must-have. I can't tell you how many times I get a kill or two, but I am too low to risk not healing up. In this situation with the sandwich equipped, I can fall back for a quick lunch break, and then push back up to where I was before and continue the killing spree. Unless there is a full-sized health pack nearby, this is not an option with the shotgun, and even if there is a pack nearby, there is no guarantee it will be there for you to take. Small packs will rarely heal you enough to get back into the fight, and medium packs are better than nothing, but they will often fail to bring you above my recommended 200 health threshold. The sandwich guarantees that you will be able to regain full health as long as you can find an opening to safely eat it. Maybe you can make an argument that it's worth using a shotgun when you have a pocket medic, or if your team just has multiple medics who are frequently healing you. Even when you have a medic, I think the sandwich is worth using because you can use it to heal your own medic. Also, having heals kind of reduces the use case of the shotgun anyways because you can afford to eat a little extra damage when you are getting into position. The majority of the time when I am running the shoddy, regardless of the game state or how many medics my team has, I just feel like I am missing out on sandwich value far more often than I am getting shotgun value. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't always need my sandwich, but situations where I need health fast and health packs and friendly medics won't cut it come up often enough that I almost never unequip it. It feels terrible to not have the sandwich equipped when you are in that strong position with only 50 health left and you have an opportunity to eat. Speaking of positioning, I find playing into Heavy's strengths much easier than trying to play around his weaknesses. I tend to avoid any Heavy items that attempt to fix his weaknesses and instead choose items that allow him to shine when you successfully position correctly. This is partially because I find that the kills I get from smart positioning are extremely satisfying, but also because I think that it is the most effective way of playing Heavy. The only real exception to this rule is the Brass Beast, but I'm not going to talk about my choice of miniguns in this video since I already did in my casual Heavy guide. Anyways, I am mostly talking about the shotguns, the eviction notice, and the gloves of running urgently. These items attempt to directly or indirectly improve his mobility by sabotaging his ability to trade damage effectively. Fans of the shotgun heavy playstyle will say that mobility is better than health in this game. I would largely agree with this statement because mobility is extremely important in Team Fortress 2. However, as is the case with most generalizations, there are exceptions, and I think that this is one of them. Being very healthy is what allows the heavy to do what he is good at. Getting into position and shredding anything that dares contest him into itsy bitsy little pieces. Of course, you can still achieve this with a shotgun equipped, however, as I made clear previously, you are likely to run into situations where you are unable to heal properly, forcing you to back up. Now, obviously, if you have lots of mobility, you are able to reposition on the fly, but if you are in a good position for a given situation, then mobility is not really needed. If it wasn't obvious by my gameplay at this point, when it comes to heavy, I am a very positional player, and I value being in good spots spun up over unrevving my gun to go somewhere else. Honestly, a lot of shotgun heavies probably think that they need the shotgun because they aren't very good at positioning. Don't get it twisted, there is nothing wrong with being bad at heavy or at TF2. Just don't try to tell me that the shotguns are really good if you don't know what you're talking about. Contrary to popular belief, you don't have to be an expert about everything, and I know that there are some experts from r/TF2 watching this. Anyways, if you are in a good spot and you are spun up, the minigun is really, really good at killing things. Like, my tracking isn't very good to be honest, but even with my mediocre tracking, I just melt everything at close range. The shotgun just can't compete when it comes to close range encounters unless it has a corner to break line of sight, but again, your positioning is going to be doing heavy lifting for this example. Corners can be used to counter heavy, but if the heavy is smart, he can also use corners to outplay enemies. This isn't perfect, because smart players probably won't fall for these tricks, but smart players are also mechanically good enough to kill you if you run at them with the shotgun 9 times out of 10. The miniguns beat the shotguns when it comes to time to kill, but they are also better when it comes to sustain damage as well, because they have essentially unlimited ammo. So, let me just recap real quick. The shotguns are generally worse in short fights because they have a longer time to kill. They are not generally better at preserving your health because of the previous statement, and they are worse in sustained fights because of their limited ammo. Also, by bringing a shotgun along with you, you are sacrificing your own ability to reliably heal yourself. And all of this is because you want the ability to adopt a more mobile playstyle on the character who happens to have the slowest base movement speed in the game, and doesn't have any special movement abilities unlike the majority of the mercenaries, and his whole thing is that he has a really big gun that he shoots people with. Right. To me, the heavy is fun because of his slower, more grounded playstyle centered around positioning. Why would I try to build a movement-based playstyle on slow-ass heavy when there are classes in the game that can do this? So, I've been conveniently ignoring the final argument advocating for shotgun heavy that I find to be the most convincing. The miniguns are boring and not very fun, and single-fire weapons such as the shotgun are just more entertaining. Now, personally, I find the miniguns to be incredibly satisfying to use, but I understand that some people just inherently prefer single-fire weapons. If you want to rock a shotty, be my guest. But settling for a boomstick when you have a fucking minigun just seems counterintuitive to me. Lastly, I realize that a lot of Fat Scout fans know that the sandwich and the banana are objectively way better than all of Heavy's other secondaries, and honestly, I don't even think anybody who was making videos about Shotgun Heavy were saying that it was on par with the lunchbox items, and frankly, no way am I sitting through another one of those videos to go double check. The reason I wanted to talk about this is because, based off of my own comments and the reaction I have gotten when I mentioned that I think the shotguns are garbage on Heavy, it seems that some people have come to that conclusion on their own. And I know from experience making videos about balance, such as my Demonite is bad video, some people think that if you are able to get kills with a certain loadout in casual, then it must not be bad. Like, yes, I'm sure Zesty Jesus is able to play Demonite and dunk on people with like 100 hours in the game who are playing on like a $300 HP laptop on a dial-up internet connection, but that doesn't actually make Demonite good. What makes a set of items or a playstyle good is the ability to perform consistently against not only bad and mediocre players, but also good players as well. Because if you are basing the power level of an unlock off of fresh installs, then literally anything is strong if you are just better at the game than your opponents. Try running full-time Demonite or Shotgun Heavy or whatever other meme loadout against a team of players who are actually good and trying to win, and tell me how that goes. Before I end the video, I just want to mention times when I think that bringing a shotgun is actually maybe possibly stronger than a lunchbox item. I do believe that if your team is achieving absolutely nothing, then having a shotgun is probably better than a lunch simply because there will never be a time when you can eat safely. Then, the extra utility essentially comes with no downside. The thing is, if my team is being useless, then I would much rather switch to a class that is more independent, such as Soldier. Because, at the end of the day, I would say that Heavy is extremely reliant on his team's support in order to succeed. If your team is pretty solid, then you don't need a shotgun to hold out as you are repositioning because the front line will be clearly delineated, and you will be able to back up and rely on your team to protect you while you munch on your food of choice. So for me, the shotguns are in a really weird spot where the only time they would make a big difference, the difference that they make isn't actually significant enough to be worth staying on Heavy, and when I don't need a shotgun, Heavy is actually a useful class. Anyways, I think that pretty much sums up my opinions on Heavy's secondary slot. If you'll excuse me, I have to get back to grinding my Silent up to Ascension 10. Thank you for watching. Oh my god.